My fear is not about the United States potentially invading another country. Although I mean I'm always worried about sending our troops into harm's way for a number of different reasons and the potential foreign policy implications that come along with that. I am very, very worried about the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party.
Definitely.
I'm very, very concerned.
Taiwan. If they go in on Taiwan, I mean, what's America going to do?
Well, okay.
Joe Biden will do nothing.
Well, I said, if you end up seeing a Biden presidency, mark my words. I think, and this is just what I know of China and how they operate, and I've been watching them for the last 10 years of my life. I think you'll see China go quiet, and then I think you'll see them invade Taiwan. And then that'll be one of the
soon.
Yes. And so, but look, the Chinese Communist Party has infiltrated every level of our government.
Yep.
And that is not Sean Parnell on Tim Pool and a conspiracy theory. This is what a Chinese professor said at a Chinese presentation, said that we've got people at every level of the Chinese Communist Party. He even brought up paying Hunter Biden and the Biden family. Couple weeks later, you have Eric Swalwell come out with Fang Fang being compromised by a Chinese spy. You had a Chinese spy driving around Dianne Feinstein for 20 years. Now get this, and no one's talked about this. I'm going to talk about it on your show for the first time. A high-level Chinese diplomat met with the Allegheny County executive Rich Fitzgerald in August of 2019. Why is a high-level Chinese official, Communist Party official, meeting with a county executive? And you know how I found that information? On the Chinese Communist Party New York City consulate website, where they said that in this meeting, Rich Fitzgerald, the Allegheny County executive, welcomed us with open arms. We said that Wuhan and Pittsburgh are sister cities, and we
When
stand
was this?
in August of 2019, 3 months before a pandemic. Wuhan and Pittsburgh are sister cities.
Yeah.
What gives an Allegheny County executive the authority to make a declaration like that? Number one. Number two, how is it okay for a county executive and local Democratic officials to meet with a high-level Chinese diplomat to subvert, and by the way, this is on the CCP's website, to subvert the president's trade policy in China and foreign policy in China and stand steadfast in our friendship?
Did you see this story that came out just about a week ago? Data leak exposes details of 2 million Chinese Communist Party members.
I saw that, yeah.
The U.S. and the U.K. have been infiltrated by members of the Communist Chinese Party, some of these biggest companies, some of them working for some of these major pharmaceutical companies. So I have to wonder, when I see something like that, when I see Fang Fang, Eric Swalwell allegedly was having relations with this woman, and she helped fundraise for his campaign. My question is, why hasn't he resigned already?
Why is he on the Intel committee?
Why isn't he under investigation, having every single communication ripped apart and gone through with a fine-tooth comb? And then when I see stories about this guy Fitzgerald you're mentioning now in Allegheny County, you notice this because this is your county, right?
Yeah, it's part of my district.
This is your where you
Look,
live.
this is my first foray into politics.
But
I'm a warfighter, so I'm just starting to notice this stuff now.
Think about this. Think about how many other counties, how many other
100%,
districts.
100%.
And then I wonder, you say, what gives him the authority? Why does he do it? Man, I wonder if all it takes is some hacker, a Chinese Communist Party member who, hacks into his account, finds his naughty folder, and then blackmails him with it. They have a meeting and they say, take a look at this image.
Well, look, that's part of their playbook. But China knows the game. The Chinese Communist Party does not want for resources. Part of what they do, right out of the Chinese Communist Party playbook, is putting pressure on local, state, and federal officials that they think that they can get in with. And it just so happens, look, this is a Republican and Democrat problem. Now, I don't think that, you've got Dianne Feinstein and Eric Swalwell, and then you've got...
I technically agree, but I actually kind of disagree with you saying it's a Republican and Democrat problem. It's bad for all of us.
It's bad for all of us is what I'm saying.
I'm not sure the Democrats care.
Well, look, if the Democrats cared, Eric Swalwell would not be on the Intelligence Committee.
Yep.
If the Democrats...
Joe Biden would not be president-elect or will be on January 6th or about to be.
Look, this is a problem. This is a problem that deserves the attention of every power broker in this country, in the private sector, and every head of every government agency needs to be focused on this now.
Too many people are in on the take, man. Look. It is not hyperbolic to say that Joe Biden is likely compromised by communist Chinese interests. He flew his son on government property, Air Force
On Air Force Two.
to China for a $1.5 billion equity deal. Now, I thought it didn't happen. I thought the equity deal fell through, but we had China Uncensored on the show, and they said, no, actually, it did go through, just not the way people think. The negotiations were good. It worked. They got a $5 million interest-free forgivable loan. Joe Biden flew his son to China for a private deal. Joe Biden's involved.
Of course, he's the big guy. He's the big guy.
But even outside of accusations, right, from these emails, so we have leaked emails. Well, they're not leaked emails. We have the laptop. The emails were published. We have confirmation from Tony Bobulinski, who worked on some of these deals. Get rid of all that stuff. Just say, you know what? Okay, you're arguing with your Democrat buddy. Say, forget it all. It is not in dispute that Joe Biden took Air Force Two to fly his son to China for private equity deals. Joe Biden used government resources to enrich his family. That is a fact, not in dispute by anybody. And now this guy's on track to become president.
Look, it's concerning, and I would say about Allegheny County executives, local county executives. It's not uncommon for them to meet with diplomats and welcome them to their cities. But I would say, why are you meeting with our number one geopolitical foe, probably the greatest human rights abuser on the planet? They put people in concentration camps. Their number one goal is to become the lone superpower, overtaking the United States of America. Does this not deserve questions from maybe somebody in the media?
I used to always be like, why were they so nice to the Nazis in 1930? Why was Hitler man of the year? Why did Germany? Yeah, why did they host the Olympics? Why was Germany such the love child of the world in the early days when maybe their human rights abuses weren't public knowledge yet?
Peace but in I think our it time.
Remember that? Who said that? Neville Chamberlain?
Neville Chamberlain said that. So
after his appeasement
that was Michael
of Hitler?
Malice who brought that up on the show, right?
Yeah.
The saying, peace in our time, was when Neville Chamberlain talked to Hitler, and they were like, he comes back and goes, don't worry, he says he won't attack us.
Yeah, they gave him
and then they did.
A piece of Czechoslovakia or something. I don't know. Neville Chamberlain gave him a big piece of land and was like, he's not going to invade anymore, guys. Yep. The Sudetenland, I don't remember.
Yeah.
The idea that China is our friend, that is being, you're hearing this in the news from many in the Democrat Party, is one of the greatest fallacies of our time. They are not our friend. They do not want to be. They want to overtake our country. They do not want to cooperate with us. Like, look, it's very, very, very concerning. And I'm telling you, every leader in our country needs to focus on this right now.
But clearly, people like Swalwell either don't care or like it.
I don't think he intentionally took a spy under his wing.
He'd resign if he cared.
Well, now, yeah, I know.
And so
I think if there was
Feinstein.
enough of a public outcry, he would resign.
I don't know if it's that they don't care, or is that they're just ignorant to the goals, the foreign policy goals of China, or maybe they don't understand.
Well, let me tell you something. When I worked for ABC News Univision's joint venture Fusion, I worked in the ABC News building. I worked in the Univision building. I worked for Vice. What people think, they think that individuals get bribed to do things. They think that, like, I would go to you and say, hey, I want you to, steal Ian's glasses. Here's $10. Well, that's not how bribes work. That's not how the media works. And that's not how political manipulation works. Here's how it works. If you run a company and you want it to be a woke, progressive, or a conservative company, you don't hire a journalist and then say, I'll give you extra money to lie and make fake news. You seek out those who lie and make fake news and say, want a job? And they say, yes, I do. Here's your salary. Do whatever you want because I already know what you do. Eric Swalwell got help with his political career from Fangfang. The Chinese Communist Party finds feckless, ignorant morons and then says, make them win. How can we make them win?
Why do we have feckless, ignorant morons in our government?
Because we are a government of, by, and for the people.
Because
and that
it's a
means
popularity vote?
Because anybody can run. So what they'll do now is they'll exploit that system in any legal possible way they can, or even illegal. Like we have the 1,000 Talents program. These professors are getting huge stacks of cash from China, and they're getting arrested for it because it's illegal, or they're lying to the government about the money they're getting. China's willing to break the rules, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to exploit our system. And Fangfang, the spy who is helping Eric Swalwell get elected, that's basically the point. Swalwell probably wouldn't even be in office. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe he would have. That's fine. But either way, he should have resigned the moment the story broke. The moment he had to hit a briefing and the FBI came in and said, you were propped up by Chinese spies, even if it were me, I'd walk out and be like, I'm out. I resign. Straight up.
Or at least take him off the Intelligence Committee so that he doesn't have access to our country's most sensitive secrets.
Yeah, that too. Yep.
I mean,
but I don't think the Democrats care. Remember Steve King? Remember what happened to him when he tweeted about white nationalism?
Yes.
He got booted off everything.
Every committee.
And then he lost the
primary. Yes.
Because the Republican Party said, we don't want to associate with you and what you're saying, so we want someone else. That was the Republican Party, because the Republicans, for all of their faults, are still substantially better than Democrats in many ways. I think both parties are full of crony establishment garbage, but you still have a decent amount of people in the Republican Party who are willing to say, they're willing to do something about it.
I mean, obviously, I'm a Republican, but yes, I totally agree with you. But again,
it's just, look at Ilhan Omar comes out and says all that stuff about, Jews in Israel. That was like, the way I described it was Ilhan Omar was crop dusting anti-Semitism. You know what crop dusting is? The plane comes down and gets real close to the ground but doesn't touch it. The things Ilhan Omar said weren't overtly anti-Semitic, but people were like,
you're reading into it.
But hold on, you said 3 things. It's like, if you said one thing, we'd be like, oh, that's weird. Second time, we go, it's kind of weird. Third time, it's like, okay, that's on purpose, right? But all that happened was Nancy Pelosi said, we want to condemn all bigotry. And no penalties, no censure, no punishment. Just, we condemn bigotry. Have a nice day, everybody. Steve King tweets once, and they kick him out of the party. He's gone. He loses.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
I know. And so
Democrats don't do it.
And Eric Swalwell still sits on the Intelligence Committee, even though he was compromised for years by a Chinese spy.
It's funny. There was a meme where they were like, the Chinese Communist Party is sending beautiful young women to basically like get in bed, literally, with up-and-coming stars, politicians, personalities. And so now it's like, if you are, what did someone say? They say, if you're a 2 and she's a 10, you probably should. You got to ask some questions there.
She's probably a spy.
Yeah. She's probably a spy. Something's not right. Huh?
Can we get Swalwell out of the committee?
Impeach him.
The only way he gets removed from the committee is Nancy Pelosi removes him from the committee.
You know what, man? Have you seen what's going on with the force the vote thing on the progressive left?
I have seen this, although I don't know enough about it to discuss it in any depth. I have seen it. I read a little bit about it just today.
This is why I think, I'll tell you another reason why I don't like the Democrats. After everything we've just explained about, kicking people out of the party and booting them off, their committees, you have Ocasio-Cortez and the progressive Democrats in the Democratic Party. Because the Republicans gained so many seats, they now have the leverage to force a vote on basically anything they want. I think they're within 5 votes of the majority, right? Like, it's like the House is very, very.
Yeah, I think the Democrats have a 6 or 7 seat majority right now.
Which means if the progressives went to Nancy Pelosi and said, unless you give us a floor vote on these issues, we will not vote for you for speaker. In which case, the Republicans could gain control to a certain degree. They're still the minority part.
Oh, for sure.
So you have Jimmy Dore, he's progressive, but he's populist, and I think he's a good dude. And he said, you were elected to do this. Do it now. They won't do it. They won't challenge Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi, in her weakest position yet, wants to be reelected speaker, and they have the leverage to say no to her, and they won't do it.
They won't. No, because look, say what you will about Nancy Pelosi, but she's shrewd. She's a ruthless politician. She knows the game. She's been in Washington for a long time. She's got a lot of money. She's got a lot of money in her super PAC, and she can single-handedly funnel millions of dollars, which happened in my race, by the way. She funneled $1.2 million of dark super PAC money into PA 17 against me. I would argue that it didn't work. Maybe it worked enough.
Did the mail-in voting work?
No. Well, the mail-in voting worked real well for the Democrats.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. We do the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. So come back to check us out when we go live. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and we are also available on all podcast platforms for free if you want to listen to us there. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.